Hello and welcome to Delta Sparks Pod Ep.7. I am Evan. This is Andie Sausage Pudding Supreme Pop Pop Pop. People are liking the Pop Pop Pops.
Yeah, they are. Much more than the Andie, I think.
I don't know. I think O'Sullivan, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, he quite enjoyed the Andie.
Jeff Mossman does too, but
people are liking the Andie. I could just start calling you Dewey for short.
What's that show? Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dewey.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, I'll just start. Your new nickname will be Moist.
No. These keep getting worse.
Moist.
Yeah. Okay. It took me a while to even start going by Andie. So.
Well, Dewey it is. So Dewey, today, episode 7, we are here. We made it. We're going to do kind of a rewind, look back at some questions that we've had with some of our guests, maybe throw a question or two in of our own that we've been talking about. We're going to do our own tips. We're going to be putting just our own tips into the mix. And then we both decided to do a dual lightning round where I have 3 questions for you. You have 3 questions for me. The between shall never meet, whatever that means.
Sure.
Neither the two shall mix. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm still kind of delusional and dehydrated from the COVID vaccine, so I don't know who I am or where I is.
So how did that work that you were able to actually get the vaccine already?
I'd like to say that I held up a place at gunpoint, but that's just not the answer. So I'm considered an essential worker, and my what's that thing called where you have like a disease, pre-existing condition?
Okay.
Pre-existing condition is I'm a smoker. So that got me in like Flynn. So that was an interesting thing. And I hate needles, and every time I have to get a shot, like I tell them, like, listen, I hate needles, and they always laugh at me because my arms are completely tattooed, and I'm like, it's a different thing. It's completely different. It's like one slightly penetrates you, just a little prick. The other one's jabbed into your arm fully. So no, I don't like needles. I do like tattoos, and I am 66% effective against COVID.
That's dope. Because it's still like this is going to be a stupid question, but is the vaccine the same everywhere? Like it's the 2 shots?
So there's different vaccines, different companies make them. So I think there's 1 or 2 of them out there that are the 2-shotters, and then there's ones out there now that are the single shot.
Okay. And what did you get?
I got the single. Because if I got as sick as I did after the first one, which isn't a normal reaction, I'm just special. My wife seems to think I would not be getting a second one then.
Right. Well,
I mean, if I had to do it, I would, but it was not fun. I went through several pairs of underwear yesterday.
I bet you did. Isn't that a normal day thing for you, or?
No. It was a overly moist day.
Gross.
All right, so let's just jump into the questions that we have from our last episode, which was with Chris, aka Lower 48. Some really interesting topics we discussed. I mean, first off,
he is so wise. I can't get over it.
He's like an owl. A 1, a 2, a 3. Do you know what that's from?
No. Is it Winnie the Pooh?
No, Tootsie Pop. You remember as a kid the Tootsie Pop commercials? Hey, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop?
Have you ever asked Chris that?
No, I did not. Okay, so first topic that we talked with him about is community, right? His I don't want to say his slogan because he made it very clear that no one knows where the phrase came from, but the one that he's been promoting and championing. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I mean, for me, I think that speaks volumes, especially in my life in general. I don't think that is specific to any one area of my life. I think the more I try to do things by myself, the harder I make them for myself. And I think also of thinking of certain things as a destination versus as a journey can make things, I think, a little less fruitful at the end. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Well, the one I'm thinking of right now is at my work, we've got 4 apprentices, I think, including myself, who are done school, done our hours, waiting to write our ticket. So we're kind of like banding together to work together on our code questions and brush up on questions that we'll be facing for this exam. And so we want to work together and try and like go through this and practice together and learn off of each other while we can. But again, like the whole treating it as a journey and not the destination is, I'm curious how it's going to feel after I actually get my ticket. Like, is it going to feel any different, really? I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting, because that is both a journey and a destination you're talking about.
Right? It's a big old destination.
I think you can have destinations in a journey, right? It's good to have destinations in a journey. Kind of like Dora the Explorer, right? Candy Cane Forest, Chocolate Mountain, blah, 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 whatever. I think you always have to have something you're working towards. But for me, I'll speak specifically for me. If I don't have something to work towards or look forward to, then my day-to-day can kind of get blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And the pandemic has taken a lot of those opportunities away, like concerts, vacations, get-togethers. But in terms of like what you're talking about, like your group of 4 or 5 people who are all working together to help each other get to this end destination, this test to get your ticket. Sure, I think you can work together to get to the destination. And then what happens after that is you continue to work together to support each other in each other's careers as you move past that. You know, I mean, that goes back to a conversation we've had though before, where it's like, you know, friendship. You don't know how long someone's going to be in your life, right? Or to what significance or importance they're going to be in your life until they're no longer in your life in that way.
Right. The reason, season, lifetime situation.
Yes, exactly. The next topic we talked about with Chris was choosing how we react to a situation. This is not something I'm particularly known well for.
I'm probably in the same boat as you. I get very emotional very quickly.
Yeah, I am an emotional person. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you're one of those artist types, right?
I'm one of those artsy fartsy hipster guys. No, but listen, I acknowledge it. I accept it. I understand that I am initially driven by emotion. I'm secondary driven by logic. My biggest hurdle in life is not letting emotion get to the front door first, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
My dad always said,
I think a big part for that is just the awareness of knowing you're an emotional person, knowing that you often will have those snap reactions, and that you have it in your head to try and make sure that that's not going to be your initial or only reaction, I guess. Like, it can be your initial reaction. Think about, because emotion isn't just negative, right? Emotion's positive as well.
Right, absolutely. I think when we say choosing how we react to a situation and talking emotion, the majority of people, I think, would initially respond with the idea of anger or rage. My dad always had this saying, you know, if somebody hits you from behind and you get out with a baseball bat, who's at fault? Yeah. Which is why I no longer keep a baseball bat in my car.
You. Sorry.
If somebody rear ends you.
Car. Yeah. When you said hits you from behind and gets out with a base, I was like, gets out of where? But I'm with you. I'm on it.
No, you're right. Like, yeah, I can react in certain situations with emotion in a good way, and I think that it's a double-edged sword. It's in some situations it's good, in some situations it's not so great. But I think it's okay to have that anger first reaction internally, like the thought, but it's the actual action that's taken. I can have 1,000 horrible thoughts first, and then if I act on that 1,001, which isn't getting out of the car with a baseball bat, then I've made the right choice. I'm not really at fault for my thoughts. It's my actions.
Hello.
Hi.
This is ridiculous.
Um,
Sorry, so you can have 1,000 thoughts.
I finished the sentence.
Okay, cool. I'm sure it was
this
a great
will be
one.
This will be a little bit more of a piecemeal one. I said
so
I could have 1,000 thoughts that are all the wrong ones, but if I act on the 1,001 thought, which isn't based off of that emotion, then I'm typically not getting out of the car with a baseball bat.
It's the action you take once you've assessed your reaction, your internal reaction, I guess, right?
Exactly. And I mean, it's in a lot of areas of my life that I have to be cognizant of that. It's at home, it's with my family, it's at work, it's even here, like online, like on social media, on Instagram. Like, the fact of the matter is like, there's a lot of people on Instagram, there's a lot of people on social media, there's a lot of personalities, and I'm not in control of anybody other than myself. And I was talking with somebody through messaging yesterday. Like, I can't allow myself to bring myself down to someone else's level. As badly as I want to react to some things that people have said or continue to say, it's not going to do me any good.
No, it's really not.
As painful as it is to hear people talk shit in general, or to have people continuously coming at me for whatever reason, whether online or in my personal life, my initial reaction is always to react, right? To blow up, to call people out, to make a big thing out of it.
To hop on the keyboard and give them your opinion like that, right?
Right. Right now, I'm trying to operate as such. Like, I'm trying to hope that if somebody is out there talking shit about me, that the people that are hearing that are doing their own research.
Not even just doing research, but it's one of those things where you have people who are listening in or hearing things, and it's, do you stand by and allow it? Or is it something, does it go a little further than that? Is there some sort of reaction from the people, the third party, the relatively impartial third party people, right? Like,
right.
As much as can be expected for people.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, I'll be 100% honest. If I came across somebody saying something about somebody that I didn't really know either party all too well, and I wasn't really invested either way, unless it was like completely outlandish and like horrific, I probably wouldn't get involved, simply because it's none of my business, and I'm not going to go starting ish where there is no ish for me to be a part of.
Right.
So I guess, like, in the hopes that, like, just in general, that anytime anyone sees anything online, that they're realizing and acknowledging the fact that this is one person's view, opinion, perspective on anything and everything, good, bad, and indifferent. And how I choose to react to that will solely reflect upon me and not on anyone else. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is like, no one's going, like I said, no one's going to fault the person who rear-ended me. They're only going to fault me if I get out of the car with a bat.
That's right. Well, and it comes down to, well, in that case, like, accidents happen. And like we said, like, sometimes the reaction you have on a split second, like, who knows, maybe they just got bad news and kind of just lost themselves. Like, it's not, there's a difference between the malicious and the accidental, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at as well, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe malicious is a little strong of a word, but.
Or in not an accident, but purposeful.
Yeah.
You know, or careless.
Careless is a good word.
Careless. So yeah, choosing to react to situations differently on a day-to-day basis, something I'm still working on.
Well, and I think for people like you and I, with our quick emotion and high emotion, I think that is something that will never go away.
No,
I think that's a journey.
That's a journey.
It's a journey. But I think that's something like you hear of, like, when older people they start kind of losing their filter, and I think it becomes less of a priority for them worrying about filtering those kind of emotions and the words and the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
But I think back to that.
Yeah, I think back to that scene in that movie Waiting with Ryan Reynolds, where he sits down to help the old man. He's a waiter, and there's this old guy sitting in a booth by himself, and he sits down to take the old man's order, because it's like the middle of the afternoon, and he asks the old guy how he's doing. The old guy's like, "Well, I'm doing okay. I got dementia." So, and then Ryan Reynolds is like, "Oh, that sounds rough." He goes, "Yeah. It has its good times too. Like, the good points is, like, sometimes I can go for a walk without wearing pants, and sometimes I flip off young children, but then the downside is sometimes I forget to put on pants when I go for a walk, and sometimes I catch myself giving young children the finger." So emotion, just like dementia, I guess, has a catch-22 to it. It's good and bad.
Weird.
It all depends on how you look at it and how you choose to use it.
That's right. Your reaction to it.
Exactly.
So
there was this
trying to
other
sound like
thing.
Wise old owls too.
So there was this other thing that we talked about with Chris, the Neil deGrasse Tyson. See, I remembered his name this time. Neil deGrasse Tyson comment or video that he had posted on his page, where Neil deGrasse Tyson referenced somebody else who I can't remember right now, that their quote of "be ashamed to die until you have scored a victory for humanity."
Right.
And we kind of peeled back the layers a little bit on that, of what Chris's opinion and view was on that. But I think that's a pretty more full topic.
Definitely.
When I originally had saw that on Chris's page, I did a lot of thinking on that. And I think it's hard pressed for anyone to come across something like that and not to think to themselves, like, what does that mean for me? And what would I categorize as a victory for humanity? That's victory for humanity.
Humanity. Yeah. That to me is such a heavy, deep question. Like, is it something that you want to be remembered for and have people know your name, or is it something that you do behind the scenes? To me, becomes the internal struggle where you're not necessarily reminded for it, but you've kind of left it in a better place, or the world in a better place, or even just your life has impacted other people in a small way. But
yeah. I mean, it's like that old saying, don't do a good deed and then go tell people about it.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly it.
It's like, hey guys, I just fed these homeless people, pat on the back. Yeah, good for me.
And for all my Instagram followers, like, come watch me do this video. Like,
yeah. I think at the end of the day, for me, okay, so what does it mean to have scored some victory here for humanity? Well, I'm a big believer in ripple effects, and if you do something for other people, or not even if you do something for other people, but in the way in which you carry yourself and how you interact with other people affects them greatly, and in turn will hopefully allow them to affect other people in a great way. You know, it's like that old experiment: walking down the sidewalk, smile at people and say hello, see how they react. You're going to be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't smile and say hello back.
Well, for me, what immediately comes to mind when you talk about that, and I will be bringing in my women in trades again, is the visibility of seeing more women doing things, or even just that video that me and a couple of the girls put out the other day. I invited a couple people to come into the video, and they said, well, like this isn't something I would normally do. I'm not very comfortable doing this kind of thing, but I had so much fun, love to be involved again, like stuff like that. Yeah. So again, the visibility, like I said, if you see people out there doing it, that ripple effect that you're talking about, just even, oh, maybe that's something I can do too. Like, so that kind of thing to me is potentially leaving a mark on humanity. Like,
yeah.
Right?
I think the hopes is that we leave a mark and not a skid mark.
Leave a skid mark on the underpants of society.
Consider it done. So I think for our listeners, our listeners, I would just ask that, maybe take a second and think about, like, in your own world, in your own life, in your own bubble, how do you conduct yourself, and how are you affecting people with your interactions?
Not even just your interactions, with your actions.
Well, yeah, actions, interactions, exactly. I mean, I don't think we're saying, hey, go figure out a new zero carbon emission, unlimited fuel source.
Oh,
I think.
But also, if any of our listeners could do that, that would be really cool too.
Yeah, and tag us. We'll help. Promote it and take a small cut.
Yeah, like I don't know, 50.
Very small.
Yeah,
50%. 50% of 100 trillion is is fine.
I could.
And I think for me, and this kind of leads into the topic that I wanted to bring up a little bit today, was the topic I wanted to bring up today was the power of not always having to be right. That kind of came to me over the last day or two. I've had a lot of interactions with people, mostly good. I'd say 99.9% good. But I've seen some things out there in the world, on the news and on online, that have kind of just made me think.
Yeah, right. I can smell the burning from here.
Oh my God, the skid mark burning. But when I think, what kind of victory do I want to make for humanity? How do I want to, affect people? I think back to my younger years. My late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, some people would say still, in certain ways, where I had this unexplainable need to always be right about things. Funny story. So I was like 24, somewhere between 23 and 25. I can't exactly remember. And I came home from work one day, and I was living with my parents at the time, and my brother's in the living room watching TV, and he just turns to me and goes, "Hey, Evan, did you know peacocks live in the ocean?" And my brain just fucking broke hearing that statement. And I start arguing with him hard. I'm like, "Matt, they do not live in the ocean." He goes, "Dude, everyone knows they live in the ocean." And I'm like, "No, they don't. Like, you're so fucking wrong." He's like, "Well, if you don't believe me, call Mom." So I call my mom, and I'm like, "Mom, Matt's trying to tell me that peacocks live in the ocean." And her response is, "Evan, everyone knows peacocks live in the ocean." And I am livid at this point. I'm like at an 8 out of 10. And I just hang up on her, and I call my dad. I'm like, "Dad, Matt's trying to tell me peacocks live in the ocean, and Mom's saying that everyone knows this, like it's common knowledge. Please tell me that you don't have your head up your ass as well." And he goes, "Evan, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's common knowledge, and everyone knows that peacocks live in the ocean." I hit a 10. I hit an 11 at this point. I am seething with just rage. So I go online and I go on Wikipedia and I print out pages and pages and pages on peacocks, right? Mating rituals, what they eat, habitat, of course, right? Where they live.
Yeah.
And I'm posting them up all over the dining room walls, and my parents get home from work and I sit them all down and I'm like, how can you people tell me after seeing all of this that you still believe that peacocks live in the ocean? And they responded to me, we just wanted to see how you would react, seeing as you always have to be right.
Yeah.
And that didn't really change anything for me for quite some time. But it's really easy to get locked in on an idea and to fight tooth and nail. And, I think for me, there's a saying, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right?
Yeah.
And in terms of the world issues or the social media issues or whatever issues there are, I really have to pick and choose my battles of where I want to fight to make my voice heard, to make sure that people think I'm right or to make sure I'm known to be right, versus just accepting the fact that I know what I know and I know what I think and feel, and just kind of let it go and be happy in that. I think it's really difficult.
It comes down to the choices of, is this going to affect me in the long run? Is this decision, this, not even argument, is this discussion that I'm in where I feel this need to be right, is this going to be affecting anyone in the long run? Is it going to be affecting the people around me? Is it going to be affecting what I do? Right. Is this where I want to make my last stand? Am I willing to die on this hill for this argument? Exactly.
Right? It's like, I know what I know. I know my truth. And if I can accept that I know my truth and I'm happy with that, then at the end of the day, what does it matter what other people think?
Exactly. And I think this really comes down to, I don't know if maturity is quite the right word, because I am not the most mature, but I think it has come with age and experience for me, because I was not quite like going to an 11 out of 10 about peacocks, but nobody likes to hear that they're wrong. Nobody likes to hear that their opinion isn't right, isn't agreed upon. Nobody wants to hear that. So I think it's, as I've gotten older and gotten more comfortable with who I am, and I'm more in touch with who I am, that it comes down to, well, okay, sure, yeah, we can agree to disagree, or sure, you're right on this one. And I also find that now when I'm in discussions, I am a self-proclaimed, I have no idea about politics, for example. But it's one of those things that there are certain aspects of it that I have a lot of opinions about, but they're self-proclaimed uninformed opinions.
Right.
But I also, well, and on that note, I have no problem changing my mind with that. I will change my opinion if I can be convinced isn't quite the right word, but if the facts and the logic make sense to me, I have no problem changing my opinion about that stuff. And that's something that has come with age, maturity, and experience, because when I was younger, pretty much anything, if I was nope, this is what I've committed myself to, I was sticking to it. I sounded stupid, Lordy, did I ever sound stupid? Because I didn't know what I was talking about. I had the not self-proclaimed, still uninformed opinions, and I needed to stick with them because I didn't want to be wrong. But now it's kind of, the tides have turned and things are changing, and I think it suits me better.
Whoever wants to be proven wrong, whoever wants to look like the lesser than, or the not as good, or the not as smart. When it comes down to it, like I said, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? I don't agree with a lot of people on political topics or a lot of topics. Being able to agree to disagree is great. My thing is like when I've had a discussion with someone and we agree to go our own ways and I stick to that and they don't. And that's where it comes into like, can I remain silent and just be happy in the knowledge and the base that I have, that I don't need to go back out and go start something back up again. And I mean, to take this into more of a contextual point is like, think about work, right? On a job site or in an office. There's going to be tasks that need to be done where it takes more than one person to do it. And you're going to have two people or multiple people working on a project. And there's going to be multiple different ways that everyone comes up with to reach the end goal, right? But at the end of the day, I can only, unless I'm in charge, I can only put in my 2 cents, give how I see things, and then however it's decided either by the person in charge or by the group decision, I have to be okay with that. To know that I put my effort in, and whatever the outcome is, I will then continue to execute that idea instead of just pouting and being, a little beesh about it.
Right. Especially for me as an apprentice, as I'm still learning at work. And I know there's a lot of things going on with big projects that we might be working on at my company. My company's really big. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that me as this like little apprentice who's 2.5 months in, I have no idea about. So there are probably reasons for things that I have no idea about, that I don't know. It's above my pay grade. Right? So I have to put trust in the people who I'm working with, who are my bosses, who are making sure that we are getting this project done. I put trust in them that they know best at this point. Like you said, you can put your 2 cents in, but if it's at a point where, no, this is how I want things done, you have to come to terms and respect that. Yeah,
because then it's either you're going to accept that and move forward, or you're just going to be pissed off and upset all day.
Yeah.
And does that do anyone any good?
And you probably look stupid.
Yeah, you definitely look stupid.
Not
you.
Can you picture me without a smile on my face? Like, I look so stupid when I'm grumpy. I'm like,
oh my God.
I know. Jesus. For our listeners, I just made a grumpy face.
For our listeners, Andie just made a very grumpy face. So Andie.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a tip for our listeners?
I do have a tip for our listeners, and we're going to go in the more general terms today.
Okay.
As I learned from our last recorded podcast, which has not come out yet, my tip is do not podcast drunk.
Do not podcast drunk. You heard it here, folks. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, before that episode drops, go check it out on Delta Sparks Pod Instagram, or me and Andie's Instagram as well. I put together a little 2-minute plus clip of the behind the scenes of our shenanigans before we start recording, especially when it's more so before we start recording with a guest.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for them to come on.
And we're all excited and jazzed up and like,
yeah,
it's full of spit and vinegar.
I don't know. I thought you did pretty well, despite your being hammered drunk.
I wasn't hammered.
I was like, does she have a wooden leg? I was like, she must have a wooden leg because she's putting it back.
And I was like, feeling it.
Feeling it good.
Yeah.
Oy, oy, oy. So if I can put my tip in.
Absolutely.
Just the tip. My just the tip comes from recent experience and continued experience of being a homeowner and being a tradesperson. And this goes for non-tradespeople as well, is learn how to fix shit yourself. So I'm an electrician by trade. Plumbing and HVAC issues have seemed to riddle my house since I bought it in middle of August of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Things I know very little of. I have yet to have an electrical issue that I'm like considered qualified, air quotes, to address. This all started with in October when my bathtub upstairs wouldn't drain. There's a video on my Instagram about that, where I had to like cut an access in the downstairs bathroom, water poured out of the tub somehow on into the ceiling of my downstairs bathroom. I had to like find the main drain port and like snake the 50-foot, main drain line. It was yucky. Fast forward to continuous boiler issues where I had the company that we hired that supplies, so we have an oil boiler. So the company we hired to supply the oil that also services the boilers, the oil boilers. And we've had them out many times because we've had many issues. Come to find out that really it's just the service company don't know what the fuck they're doing. To the simple fact point, I had to leave work early twice last week, and I left super early on Friday because I was like, I'm not going into the weekend with no hot water, and was about to go buy an electric hot water heater, repipe it all myself, which I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning. I called my wife. My wife called her father, who's a construction lawyer, who knows a contractor, who knows a really good HVAC guy. He came out and was like, oh yeah, you have a clog in your coil. Super easy fix. Something that the service company that, by the way, replaced the coil in November should have caught or should have thought of. But it's like either they're stupid or they're negligent, because they just handed my wife a phone number last time they were here for a plumber and said, here, call a plumber. Like, it's not our problem, when it was clearly their problem. Right. So my tip is not to go off on a rant anymore, but is to learn how to fix things yourself, or at least learn the ideas behind them.
What kind of tools do you use to help yourself learn more about doing things yourself around the house? Like, I know YouTube is a wealth of information, but both good and bad.
Yes, YouTube is good and bad. I think you have to take a look at the source on YouTube that you're going to, first and foremost. How big is the page? Do they have a lot of, responses? Do they have people saying, hey, like, go look down a video that has a ton of responses? And someone responds saying, hey, I tried what you suggested here in this video and it worked. Luckily for me, having my Instagram account and being connected to a lot of different, very knowledgeable tradespeople, I was able to reach out to a few accounts and have them kind of walk me and talk me through things. When I was having the plumbing issue back in October, I reached out to Rob from @Turbo Plumbing and Heating, who's an awesome guy, awesome account. He helped me out greatly. To the simple fact that my wife kept saying, hey, let's just hire a plumber. And before, I was on the video chat with him, and then he turned to her, or I turned the phone to her. And I said, hey, Rob, will you tell my wife how much this would have cost if you were to have come out and do this? And he says, at the point you're at now, probably about $1,500.
That's insane.
And it was honestly about like a total 6-7 hours worth of work for me between 2 or 3 days, because I kept having to troubleshoot the issue because I didn't have all that much time after work each day.
Right.
But then I had reached out for the boiler issue, who helped, Plum Bob Rob.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. And a few other accounts that I had reached out to, and everyone kind of helped me, from afar, kind of diagnose the problem. Listen, at the end of the day, you only know what you know until someone, and makes you aware.
For myself, I used to work in like general construction stuff. So I've done a lot of tiling, flooring, roofs, windows, et cetera, lots of different things. And I recently, when I was laid off, I took some time to go up and tile my parents' shower at the cottage. So I was reaching out because I was going through kind of almost third
Mm-hmm.
party, my parents were ordering what we needed. I had to pick it up in my hometown
Mm-hmm.
and bring it up north with me. So I
Right.
was messaging or putting it, I think I even put it out into a story on my Instagram asking for advice on tiling. And some of the local tile girls, not local, the Instagram tile girls,
Tile gals.
the tile gals were giving me feedback and wanted to hear about how it was going. And just the support I got from them was awesome. And they, for the most part, kind of were all coordinated with their answers.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me to hear it because it most of the tile gals that I know are in the States. So and then in my head I was like, I wonder how different this is for Canada. I'm sure it can't be that different. Like it's
Grout is
not
grout
like
is grout.
grout is grout is grout. But it was more about the waterproofing behind the grout that I was wondering about.
Ah, gotcha.
So
The ceiling and stuff.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I was wondering about. And they gave me great information about that. So even just reaching out to accounts on here, like, can help. Maybe build up a
Yeah.
bit of a rapport first, I would probably recommend. But
Definitely helpful when you're asking for help. But
yeah,
at the same time, I think this brings us back to our original first topic of community. You know,
that's
it's
right.
like, yeah, you could have blew out that bathroom, which you do probably all the time. Um, but you could have gotten those tiles up real quick and flew through it.
Mm-hmm.
But would it have been to the quality that you were looking for?
Right.
You
Will it
know,
have the longevity that we want?
exactly, exactly. So community and learn how to fix shit yourself. Tie those in a bow, put them under your Christmas tree, and happy Hanukkah, everyone.
All right. What do you think? Should we start our rapid fire questions?
Yes,
Do you want
yes.
to
Do
go
you want to
first?
go
Or do you want...
first? I think we should rock paper scissors it.
Okay.
Best
Wait.
two out of three.
What happened? So who wins chooses?
Whoever wins goes second.
Ask their question second, or is asked second?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll go one for one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You
Okay.
ready?
So ready?
Yeah.
Rock paper scissors shoot. Ooh, tie scissors. Rock paper scissors shoot. Okay, I won.
Okay.
Scissor cuts paper.
So I'm asking first.
Yes.
Okay. Evan, what's your
Yes.
spirit animal?
Ooh. It's probably a mandrill monkey because they're very expressive and they have a very
Those,
red, fiery butt.
I was going to say, are those the ones that show their butts?
They have the big red butts and they have like bluish faces.
Love it. Mine
Okay.
is a golden retriever.
Ooh, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Andy,
Yes.
when you poop at home, do you drop your pants around your ankles or do you take them all the way off?
It depends if I'm alone at home. If I'm alone, I almost never have pants on.
Okay.
So it's a moot point. But if we have like
So,
guests over,
yeah.
then they're just around my ankles.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Which body part do you wish that you could detach and why?
I mean, can I put it back on afterwards?
Yeah, in my mind, it's like I'm just gonna like take this off and put it back on when I need it situation.
My balls,
Interesting.
they get really sweaty and they get stuck to your leg a lot.
Not my leg.
So like in the summertime, I'd love to be able, like while I'm working, it's just like leave them in the car. So like I'm not
They would
continuously.
cook if you left them in the car in the summertime.
Well, then I wouldn't have to worry about getting anyone, knocked up right afterwards. To let them cool up. But if I'm giving an honest answer, my other answer would be my penis.
Yeah,
But that's
that
just
was what I was
if like
expecting you to say.
if I get into a fight with somebody, like an argument, and I want to make a point, I could just reach down there, pull it off, and slap him in the face, and be like, "You just got cock slapped," but not in a sexual way, just like bow down. You know what I mean?
My bitch.
My bitch. All right, Andy.
Yep.
If I were to summon you using black magic, which 5 items would I need to place in the corners of the pentagram?
Ooh, my cell phone.
Okay.
Probably some sort of Milwaukee tool. probably a hat,
Mm-hmm.
some piece of cheese, but not blue cheese because ew.
Not blue cheese. Okay.
Ooh, the last one. That's hard. And did I already say a hat?
Yeah, you did. But I want to know what just came to your head when you started laughing.
Nothing.
An acorn?
What?
An acorn?
Sure.
If you get what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, hit me with your last question.
The last of my questions. Hold on. Okay. What would be the very worst buy one, get one sale be of all time?
The very worst buy one, get one. Vasectomy.
Fair.
Only because you'd have to find someone else who wants to pay half price or full price. Well, it's buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. Listen, if you're a Michael Scott, snip snap, who had 2 vasectomies, and one had a reversal, then the buy one get one would be good. But I think it's hard pressed to find someone who's having multiple vasectomies and or to phone a friend to be like, hey, I just bought a vasectomy. Guess what? Now you get to have one too.
I just bought a vasectomy. You can't detach your penis like I can.
Yes. That's a lot of frozen peas, if you catch what I'm saying. All right. Last question for you. If you were a fart, would you rather be the loud and proud type or the silent but deadly type?
Come on. You know I'd be loud and proud.
I knew you were going to say that. And initially I thought that would be my answer. And then I thought on it for a second. I was like, definitely silent but deadly.
No, I need the attention.
Silent but deadly kind of lingers in your nose. You can't really walk away from that. It follows you. It travels with you.
See, I'm okay with having people look at me right off the hop. I'll take that.
Okay.
It's my gift to society. It's what I am going to leave behind.
I think I would ultimately, if I could make up my own choice, it would be loud and proud and deadly. Oh my!
You just want to linger, right?
I want the attention, but I also want it to last.
Yeah, okay? That's fair. I'm with you on that one.
Just people would be like, does anyone else taste blue cheese?
It's in my mouth.
It's in my mouth. Well, that's what she said, folks, here on Delta Sparks Pod. Thank you all for taking the time to sit down and listen and hang out with us. Remember, hit us up on Delta Sparks Pod on Instagram. Go to deltasparkspod.com for all of the links, both for YouTube, Instagram, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Spotify Pod, Pod. Stay tuned because coming up next, we have a hunkalicious hunka from Virginia, United States, who just totally talked the panties off of this guy right here.
Yep.
Yep. So with that, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Pop, 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 pop.